Recession call from Danielle DiMartino Booth. Folks, if you don't know who she is someone that I follow and a well-known Fed follower. She wrote a great book. I think it's called, actually I forget what it's called, something like Fed Up or something like that. But anyways, Danielle DiMartino Booth is out telling everybody that the recession will be backdated to October 2023. I want to first congratulate her for making that call. If you watch this channel, you know that I really appreciate it when people go out early. I try to do the same thing. But now let's talk about it. What if she's right? What if Danielle DiMartino Booth, just call her Danielle from now on, is right? Well, first off, if you look at the calendar, you will realize that we are 9 months roughly since October 2023. Why is that important? Why is being 9 months from the recession starting interesting? Well, the fact is, folks, if you don't know, the average recession is 11 months long. So if we are going to have an average recession, at least for duration, we will be out of the recession in what? September? August, September, something of that nature. Just something to think about. Again, I'm not sure that I'm comfortable making a recession call at this point, but again, this is her call. She has been watching the jobs market, the employment market, retail sales, all of that, and is confident in her call. I just think it's interesting to think about the fact that if she's right, we are 9 months into the average recession length of 11 months. So pretty wild to think about. Want to talk about more rate cuts? We actually have somebody who has had their second rate cut already. Folks, if you don't know who it is Switzerland. Switzerland has made their second interest rate cut. Folks, their interest rate now is their equivalent Fed funds rate. I think it's called central bank rate, 1.25. Yes, folks, Switzerland's rate is now 1.25%. While their inflation rate, their last print was 1.4%. Bank of England had a little bit of a surprise. They held rates steady. The Bank of England did not cut rates. It was a 7-2 vote, so not unanimous. This point in the Federal Reserve cycle, all votes have been unanimous to not cut, at least in the Bank of England. Second month in a row, it was not unanimous. 7 voted to hold, 2 voted for cuts. At the end of the day, I think it's fair to say that cuts are coming to Bank of England. So folks, we have Switzerland, 2 rate cuts, ECB rate cut, Sweden rate cut. Looks like the global rate cut cycle has started. When will the Fed cut theirs? You know what I think. I think the Fed's going to be late. I think the Fed's going to go 50 basis points in November. So that means no cut July, no cut September. They will cut right after the U.S. election because they will realize they are late, but we shall see. What's going on with some earnings? We got earnings today from Darden Restaurant. They are the proprietors of Olive Garden, as an example, if you don't know who they are. They missed on revenue, but hit earnings. Again, folks, at the end of the day, when we are going through a transition in the business cycle, as an ex-accountant, let me remind you, watch revenue. You can't fake revenue. You absolutely can manage earnings with a few accounting tweaks. It happens all the time. Now, these accounting tweaks don't work forever. You eventually have to pay the piper. But if you are an executive and you know the number you need to hit, you can manage the number. But revenue, you can't fake revenue. So again, they missed on revenue, beat on earnings. The other thing I did not know, I don't know, did you know this? Maybe you knew this. I didn't know this. Darden Restaurant bought Ruth Chris Steakhouse. I'm curious, folks, anybody out there been to a Ruth Chris Steakhouse? What'd you think? Is the steak worth the money? Leave a comment below. Just curious what you think. Ruth Chris used to be a staple of the software sales guys' client dinners. So I've probably eaten there, I don't know, 10, 15 different times. But let me know what you think. Do you like their steaks or not? Let's talk about weekly unemployment. This is a big number. Remember last week, folks, we popped to 242. It was kind of out of the realm of usual in the low 220s. It was like, hey, are we going to go right back to 220 or have we stepped up the stairs? Well, again, now we have a trend. We have 2 data points. It came in at 238. 238 down 5,000, a little bit more than expected at 235. So I think it's fair to say, now again, we will get true validation next Thursday, which will be 3 data points. But it certainly feels like we've gone from the 210s to 220s now to the 230, 240 mark, again on a weekly basis. This could be the job deterioration that Danielle is referring to. This will likely lead to the Fed cutting, but again, in my opinion, cutting late. Interesting topics around car sales. Car prices are falling. It is very interesting to watch consumer behavior. What is apparently happening in the car market? Apparently consumers, that means you and I, are waiting because we expect car prices to fall. Now, the really interesting thing about a consumer-based economy is if there's enough consumers that believe something will fall, i.e. deflate, you actually get a deflationary spiral. This is actually why deflation, like a true, legit, multi-quarter deflation, is bad for an economy. If you are heading into a deflationary cycle and consumers, you and me, feel like the next thing you buy will be cheaper tomorrow, you don't buy, which leads to less sales, which leads to less employment, and the cycle gets nasty from there. But yes, folks, apparently people are fed up with car prices, fed up with rates, and they are delaying purchases. This could be the deflationary cycle. So there you go. How about mortgage applications? Mortgage applications, like the unemployment numbers for the week, actually jumped for the second week in a row, folks. Yes, on a week-on-week basis. Purchase applications are up 2% last week. They are down 12% from last week. That is the first 2-week jump in mortgage applications in quite a while. How could that be? Well, folks, as I've told you for a long time, rates matter. Specifically, rates below 7%. I do want to give a shout out. I think it was JP Morgan. JP Morgan put out an article. I think it was highlighted by either Housing Wire or Resi Club. I apologize. I read a lot of stuff. But one of them highlighted that JP Morgan's desk says that demand will spike if rates get to 6 3/4. I think that's pretty interesting because if you've watched this channel, you know that thanks to a call out earlier, I believe the magic number is slightly lower at 6.7%. Why do I think it's slightly lower at 6.7? The fact is, for the last 12 months, mortgage rates have not been below 6.7. So it is a psychological barrier, and the fact that consumers have recency bias and anchoring that I think at 6.7 we get that spike in demand. So whether it's 6 3/4 or 6.7, I don't know that it matters. The fact is, we now have at least a guess on when marginal demand will come back, which I think is interesting. Folks, we got some housing data. We've got home builder confidence falling. Shocking. Again, rates are up from this month versus last. It went down to a 43 from 45. Again, those numbers should mean nothing to you. The magic number is 50. So again, this is contraction. Folks, builders are slowing down. Shocking. They're making less homes because the demand, given the affordability, is not there. How about housing starts, folks? Woo! This is I don't know how you want to look at this. It could either be good or bad news. Housing starts down 5.5%. It was actually estimated to go up slightly at 0.7%. So let's think about this for a minute. If housing starts are down, meaning less homes are being built, i.e. less supply, is that a good thing or a bad thing? Well, if you want prices to fall, generally speaking, you need supply to dwarf demand. So we've already talked about demand ticking up a little bit thanks to the weekly mortgage applications. right? Up 2%. And now we have supply shrinking. And I would argue shrinking by a big number, right? 5.5% down in a month. That's a 60% annualized drop. That is wild. So again, pretty interesting to look at. How about building permits? Housing starts is one thing, but damn it, what about building permits? Building permits down 3.8%. Again, it was estimated to go up. So folks, if you want new home prices to come down, you want to have affordability get better, we either need A, more homes built, or B, the homes that are being built to be smaller, right? It really is a numbers game. Most people do not have cash to buy a home. They need a payment. One of the ways you can get the payment lower is, frankly, less square footage. Got an interesting note from JP Morgan yesterday. I thought this was wild. If you remember earlier in the week, I think it was Tuesday, we got a report that retail sales was weaker than expected. Sometimes, folks, even myself, I have to zoom out. I'm like, wow, retail sales weak, inflation coming down, recession, Danielle, all that stuff. I see it too. But folks, zoom out. JP Morgan helped me do that in the moment. JP Morgan pointed out that in May 2019, the U.S. consumer spent $500 billion. May 2019. Now, again, remember, May was not a good number. Retail sales were weak. Did you know? Did you know that the U.S. consumer actually spent $700 billion in the month of May 2024? So just in a 4 short year period or 5 year period, the consumer spent $200 billion more. That's an extra $40 billion a year each May. That is wild to think about. Also, interestingly enough, did you know household net worth since 2019 or 2020 is up 38% to $41 trillion. Why is net worth important? Folks, there's this thing called wealth effect. If you haven't looked up wealth effect, I suggest you look it up because it's a wild thing to think about. Basically, if you are feeling more wealthy, right? If your stocks are up, your homes are up, you feel good in your job, whatever it is, you are likely to spend more. So if your wealth is up 38%, do you feel more wealthy? Probably. How about cash? We have a lot of doomers saying the cash is gone. Did you know? Since 2020, cash in checking, savings, money market, just those three, cash is up $5.5 trillion. Yeah, the cash balance. You can't fake cash. You can talk about paper gains and net worth nonsense all you like, but cash, checking, savings, money market is up $5.5 trillion. How can that be? Well, folks, the freaking federal government threw $8 trillion into the economy. That money's got to go somewhere. And right now, a good portion of that is sitting in cash. It's wild to think about, right? $5.5 trillion? Dude, I remember when $1 billion was a lot. Now we're talking trillions. This is wild to think about. So again, what else do we got? Oh, let's talk about housing. Let's do this last thing. We obviously, more and more people want to talk about the election. They want to talk about this or that. When you think about housing, I think there's 2 general things that we need to think about. One, are you trying to spark demand? Or 2, are you trying to create supply? I think that's what it's really going to boil down to. I think the 2 people running for the presidency this election cycle, I believe one of them is focused on demand. Hey, let me give you $10,000 of free money. Hey, let me give you $400 a month. Hey, let me give you more stuff. Let me give you some free money. Let me buy your votes. That's all demand. Then we have another who may, I haven't seen any proposals. He may go the demand route, possibly, but he also might go after supply. And as an economist, as somebody who's been in the real estate game for 20 plus years and the economy for 30 years, trust me when I say we need supply. We need specifically entry-level housing. Let's not call it anything it isn't. We have a dearth of entry-level housing. Home builders have been building McMansions for far too long to help the rich get a nicer home. We need builders. We need incentive. We need to deregulate. We need to do whatever the hell we can to build entry-level housing. There, I said it. I don't care who wins, but somebody needs to fix supply. And please stop giving people free money. It is not free. Free money, if you have not learned anything, leads to inflation. And we have had enough of that nonsense. So folks, at the end of the day, I hope you have an amazing day. Remember, if you are in school, you have a true treat. One Rental at a Time is bringing you the Lumberjack Landlord at 6 o'clock Pacific, 9 o'clock Eastern. Just go to the school community, look at the schedule or calendar. There will be a Zoom. You get to ask questions. Why is that cool? Because the Lumberjack is a hands-on remodel, hands-on landlord. You are going to get the treat to ask questions. Some folks use property managers like myself, and our job is to manage the property manager. Others do self-management, and you are going to get the opportunity to ask questions. Again, folks, join the school community where we are now 153 strong in 3 short weeks. Come join the community, come interact, talk about deals, network, ask questions. Be in a community of positive people. You want to be there. All right, folks, take care. Have fun. Later.